everybody, my name is Hope and welcome back to my channel. I like musicals, they're a part of my life, and today we're going to be talking about the Olivier Awards. So the Olivier Awards are essentially the English version of the Tonys, and they came out last week. And some very interesting events transpired, and so I felt like we should talk about them. But before I do, remember you can follow me on my social media. You can get me at XWilsonX on Instagram and HopeWilson45 on TikTok and Twitter. And don't forget, you can like, subscribe. I feel like there's other things that you can do that I actually can't think of right now, but you can do all those things too if you want to. And my question of the day is, what did you think of the Oliviers? Were there things that you thought should win and didn't, or the other way around? But without further ado, let's get into it. So I feel like the most unsurprising thing was that Sunset Boulevard won Best Actress in a Musical for Nicole Scherzinger, Best Actor in a Musical for Tom Francis, and Best Director for Jamie Lloyd. I think we were expecting Sunset to win a lot. They came in with 11 nominations, I think. They also won Best Musical Revival, which again, unsurprising. I feel like this production kind of just took the country by storm, essentially. Like, it's going straight to Broadway. Like, all of this stuff kind of made it not surprising that it won what it won. I will say Best Musical Revival was a heavily contested category, as were the others, but this one specifically, they were running against Groundhog Day, Hadestown, and Guys and Dolls. Honestly, I feel so bad for Hadestown because it just opened at a time which wasn't really convenient for the Olivier Awards. They got next to no nominations and I don't think won any awards, which I think is really disappointing because I feel like because the show has just opened, it never really got the chance to get those nominations and get those reviews that it needs for those people to be nominated. Because I feel like something that isn't commonly talked about, like in mainstream media, is the way that these voting things work. Like, the way that people get nominated is that there is a panel and the panel go to watch the shows and then they as a group like decide based on who's seen what shows who should be nominated. But the thing is, when a show opens late in the Olivier season, it means that less of the panel will have gone to see it because it is not physically possible for every single member of the Olivier's panel to go and watch every single show that there is. Like, it's just not realistic. And so the later a show opens, the less panel members have seen it, and therefore the less likely they are to be nominated because they have less people to fight for it, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that there are people who got nominated that didn't deserve to, that's not what I'm saying, but it was just really sad that it didn't have nominations, which I feel like if it would have opened a couple of months ago, it may have gotten. I think another Olivier Awards category that was really hard to call this year was Best Actor in a Play. Mark Gatiss ended up winning for The Motive in the Queue, which honestly I will say I was very happy about because he was phenomenal. The fact that Johnny Flynn was not nominated, I do think is a criminal offence because he and Mark Gatiss were both absolutely phenomenal in this role, in their respective roles. Like, not even joking, they were amazing. But obviously Mark Gatiss was against Joseph Fiennes, James Norton, Andrew Scott, and David Tennant, all who I think are very well known in the wider circle of theatre, but also who all put on staggering performances. Andrew Scott got nominated for Vanya, which I would say, I think if I was to have to pick another winner, it would probably have been him, mainly just because I love Andrew Scott. I mean, I love all of these men. David Tennant, literally, like, I've loved him since I was like 6 years old, like, not even kidding. Big Doctor Who fan. Anyway, Andrew Scott was leading Vanya. It's a one-man play, the adaptation of Uncle Vanya by Chekhov, and I think that in itself is just so difficult to do. But I think all of the roles that played James Norton in A Little Life also, I feel, kind of just slipped under the radar because it closed quite a while ago now. I think it was like November, December time. So it has been quite a large amount of time since then. But I am very, very happy for Mark Gatiss and his win. And Vanya did end up winning Best Revival of a Play, so in that sense he did get the recognition. A little aside is Arlene Phillips, who is, I think she said she was 80 years old, won along with James Cousins for Best Theatre Choreography for Guys and Dolls, and that was her first win, and her speech was really, really lovely. It was just talking about how it's never too late, and I think she was a lot of proof of that. Amy Trigg also won for The Little Big Things. She won for Best Supporting Role in a Musical, which is obviously also just a really good step in the right direction for accessibility in the industry and acceptance of that. Amy Trigg even said herself that she never thought it would happen because theatre in itself is not the most accessible space for a variety of reasons. And I think it's really inspiring when you see people not only have a platform to spread this kind of awareness, but also when they're recognised for their actions. I think just across history, there's been a lot of instances where disabled actors have not received the recognition that they should have, purely based on the fact they are disabled. And I think ever since Ali Stroker won the Tony for her performance in Oklahoma, which is still probably one of my favourite performances of that role to this day, I think we're just really heading in a really great direction for people actively trying to make theatre more accessible, which I feel like is really what's needed, especially at a time like this. Now, I think the most surprising event of the Olivier Awards this year was Operation Mincemeat winning Best New Musical. I mean, if I'm going back to how the Oliviers are voted for and who's selected to win, it makes a lot of sense. But given the public opinion of the show, I really thought that that might change. If you didn't know, Operation Mincemeat received rave reviews from its critics. Every critic was giving it 5 stars. It was voted like the best new musical by like, I wrote like this big review page, I can't remember what it's called, but a lot of the audiences didn't like it. I think the show itself is like a slapstick musical, so it's a comedy musical. Something tells me that they're like robbing a bank or something. I don't know a whole lot about the show, so don't take my word for it. But what I do know is that a lot of people I know who went to see it, a lot of people who were talking about it online, who were just like general viewers, didn't like it as a show. Not saying that it was necessarily a bad show, but just that it wasn't for them. And it caused a lot of talk within the theatre industry because it's been a long while, I think, and as far as I'm aware, since we have had such separate views from the critics and the audiences. Like I said, it was very well received by critics, and therefore the fact that it won was unsurprising. And as I have not seen the show and I know very little about the show, I'll be perfectly honest, I can't give my 2 cents on whether I think it deserved to win, because I think if it won, it must have deserved to win in most instances, right? I mean, it really did surprise me that it beat out Next to Normal and A Strange Loop. The reason I don't include A Little Big Things in why I think it would win was because A Little Big Things also got varying reviews, but from both critics and audiences. But both Next to Normal and A Strange Loop, as far as I can remember, didn't come home with any awards. And for Next to Normal, it had a sold out run and is now coming back to the West End because of how popular it was. And A Strange Loop obviously winning the Tony and coming here and just not quite getting the same sort of recognition. It just became very surprising to me. I do feel like A Strange Loop especially was very much like swept under the rug in regards to how much it was talked about. I heard very, very little about A Strange Loop as a whole, even when it was running in London. And yes, it did have a limited run, but you'd still think more people would be talking about it. As a whole, again, I think these 2 shows were a little bit snubbed. The fact that Jack Wolf did not win for Next to Normal for his role as Gabe was truly shocking to me. Jack Malone from Operation Mincemeat did end up winning that category as Best Actor in a Supporting Role in a Musical, but from the reviews to everyone saying how perfect he was for the role, which I agree, to everything that people had been saying about him, like even his performance in the Oliviers section, I think he's just enigmatic as a performer and just truly embodied it. It was surprising. Again, Next to Normal had a limited run, and that may have possibly contributed to the amount of awards it won and was nominated for. But like I said, Operation Mincemeat deserved to win the awards it deserved. I'm just saying what I think. Stranger Things The First Shadow won Best New Entertainment or Comedy Play. I have not seen it. I know that it has got amazing reviews, so I wasn't overly surprised. But it just made me sad because it meant that old friends did not win. And I think we all remember how I reacted when I saw Old Friends. And I understand why Stranger Things won. Like, I think if you're comparing the two shows as like a quality pieces of theatre, Stranger Things would win. But I love Old Friends. I love it so much, and I just wanted to talk about it because I could. So there you go. I think if we look at the Oliviers as a whole this year, I think you'd probably be like, not surprised. It's just kind of like, not like a shocking year in the sense of the way that the Oliviers work. But I definitely think that there were some performances which I really wish got more recognition. Even if that didn't mean winning the award, I just think being recognised for that, I would have really appreciated. I am really interested to see shows come about for the next Olivier season. The same thing is kind of going on Broadway right now, where we're starting to really ramp up the types of shows, the style of shows, the new kind of things. And obviously there are quite a few shows that haven't come into the West End yet, but I think are probably going to be smashing the nominations next year. I'm looking at Mean Girls, I'm looking at The Devil Wears Prada, I'm looking at Starlight Express, even though that's technically an off-West End show, but it can still be nominated, which works differently in America. Anyway, I think there is a lot of promise for next year, and obviously there are so many things that haven't been announced yet. Spirited Away is coming back. Really want to see it. Obviously the revival with Hello Dolly and Imelda Staunton. If she doesn't get nominated for that, I'm gonna be shocked. But I think it's just going to be really interesting to see what happens next time. But thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you like it. What were your opinions on the Oliviers now that I've talked about it? Did you agree, disagree, have any other thoughts on any other categories? Because obviously I didn't cover them all. But yeah, you can follow me on my social medias. Keep enjoying musicals as much as me. And I will see you in the next one.